If you're a man, somewhere in your 40s or 50s, even early 30s, picture your last really rough afternoon. I want you to picture that. You had lunch, and maybe an hour or two later, the wall hit, your eyes feel heavy, your brain is foggy, you're reaching for that coffee or something sweet to just keep you going. Maybe the waistband also it's getting a little tighter, even though nothing major has truly changed in your life. Maybe that drive, that energy, the spark is just not what it used to be. And the explanation you've been handed is one: age. Well, here's how I want to start Men's Health Month. A lot of what men get told is just getting older isn't about age at all. It's probably about blood sugar. And unlike age, which sadly we can't change, blood sugar is something that you can do something about. So stay with me because by the end of this episode, you will understand how your energy, your hormones, and that stubborn belly are all connected. And you will have three things that you can start doing today. Welcome back to Prediabetes and the Path to Better A1C podcast. I am your host, Jenny Pena. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach, a diabetes prevention program lifestyle coach, founder of GEMP Coaching, and creator of the A1C Reset Protocol, which is my own 12-week one-on-one private health coaching program designed specifically for individuals with prediabetes, at high risk, with type 2 diabetes, wanting to lower their A1C, balance their blood sugar, and ditch the cravings and the brain fog without extreme diets and without necessarily giving up all the foods that they love. And June is Men's Health Month, and I wanted to do something special. So, this entire month, all the podcast episodes are going to be somewhat focused on men's health. And I'm kicking it off. And one quick thing before we dig: this is education, not medical advice. I just want you to be clear. I want you to have an understanding of what's happening and go to your doctor with a clear picture, questions, and a better strategy, right? So that you are not going there all blind. You already know some things to consider and you can optimize that time with the doctor because you know the doctors don't have that much time. So if you go already with some information, it is easier for them to give you the support that you need. In the US, more than 1 in 3 adults have prediabetes. That means that blood sugar it's higher than normal, but it's not yet type 2 diabetes. And here's the part that is the most concerning, and that's why I talk so much about this, is that men have a higher rate than women. And the large majority of these pre-diabetics, they don't know they have it. I have had clients that are several points in the pre-diabetic range, and the doctor didn't say anything. They didn't even know until it was brought up to them to look at their labs. Before I even get into everything else, if you don't know what your A1C levels are, please ask your doctor, check your labs. If you're in the US, you probably have access to all the records. Check your labs and make sure that you know that number. Okay. Now, so if you're thinking, well, that's not me, again, check. Go check your labs, look at your medical history, look at your family history, and just be mindful of it. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have prediabetes, but maybe it's a lab that is trending up. You noticing certain things that are happening, again, like I described earlier. And that is something for you to be, what is happening? Let's figure this out. Now, what does blood sugar have to do with your energy? A lot of people ask me that. They're like, well, I'm not a pre diabetic or I'm not a type 2 diabetic. So my blood sugar is fine. What does that have to do with my energy? Here's a simple version of what an afternoon crash, you know, that 3 p.m. slump? This is the simple version of it. You eat a meal that's heavy on fast carbs, on simple carbs, not much fiber in there, not much of anything, just a lot of carbs, the blood sugar is going to spike up. And then your body answers with a big surge of insulin, right? Because the body is trying to get that blood sugar to go down. And what ends up happening is that it overshoots a lot of insulin. So an hour later or two, your blood sugar is dropping lower than where it started. So that creates what I like to call a blood sugar roller coaster. Now, that dip is the slump. That's the foggy feeling. That's the I need a nap or a cookie. That's the slump. Your brain runs on glucose. So when the supply spikes and then crashes, the same way your mood and your focus goes up and down with it. And feeling tired, it's not a character flaw. It's something about your fueling your body maybe the wrong way. And then the other element has to do with how your blood sugar and your hormones interact. Now, this is the part that I have to say. For women, you hear a lot these days about perimenopause and menopause and hormones and all of these things, but you don't hear much about the men. And the men do get impacted by it as well. So, this is something that I have to admit, there's not much out there. There's a lot of focus on the women, and there's not much focus on the men. And blood sugar and testosterone are highly linked. When your cells stop responding to insulin, and that's what it's called insulin resistance, testosterone tends to fall. And it runs both ways, right? Low testosterone makes insulin resistance worse, which pushes testosterone lower. So it's a loop that is a bit tough to get out. So low testosterone is strikingly common in men with type 2 diabetes. By some estimates, up to half of them. And research shows higher testosterone tracks with lower diabetes risk. So there is an element. So that's another reason why paying attention to your blood sugar and how your body is processing blood sugar, it's important. That low T, I'm going to call it low T feeling, just the fatigue, the flat mood, the missing drive, and your blood sugar are part of the same story, most likely. Now, here's the other thing, the funny one, the beer belly. The beer belly that comes without the beer, which brings us to why is this happening? Because you don't have to be a big drinker to grow one. The fat that collects deep in your abdomen, right, like in the belly area, is visceral fat. And it is not just sitting there, it's actually metabolically active. It almost acts like an organ. I know this sounds a bit scary, but it carries an enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. So the more belly fat you carry, the more testosterone gets converted away. And what happens? That lowers your testosterone, which makes it easier to store more belly fat, which makes more of that hormone. And then it's another loop. And that same visceral fat worsens the insulin resistance. Again, it ties all back to blood sugar. So that's the whole picture, right? Blood sugar, energy, testosterone, belly fat. They're not four separate problems. They're one system talking to each other. Now, you must be saying, okay, why does this matter? Why now? And I have to say, because for years, men have been told that this is just the cost of getting older. It's to slow down, to accept it, and here's a prescription if it gets bad enough. But this system, with the blood sugar at the center, is one of the most responsive things in the body. So if you make changes, it often will start to shift within weeks of changing a few daily habits. not a crash diet, not having these extreme measures. It's just a handful of small, repeatable things that work with your biology instead of against it. And the men, in my experience, who turn this around aren't the most disciplined ones. They're the ones who spot the loop early enough to interrupt it. So here I'm going to give you the strategy. You know how I love to share science behind it, get clarity as to, okay, this is what's happening. And not science is not always fun, but I love science and I want you to understand what is happening. But I love to give you strategies, something that you can incorporate. So let's jump into some of these strategies that may help. And none of them need a diet or a gym or giving up the food that you love. It's just shifting a few things. Number one, order your plate. And what do I mean by that? Eat your vegetables and your protein first. And try to save carbs like the rice, the bread, the potatoes for last. It's the same meal, same food, just the sequence is going to change. Because in studies of people with blood sugar imbalances, eating carbs last actually cuts the after meal glucose spike substantially, roughly by a third in the first hour, in at least one well known trial. So it's the easiest thing on the list because you're not removing anything. All you're doing is shifting how you're eating your meals. Now, number two, walk for 10 minutes after your biggest meal. It's not a workout, it's just a walk. When your muscles move right after eating, they pull the glucose out of your bloodstream without needing extra insulin, so the spike never climbs as high. Research around this is consistent. Even a short 10 to 15-minute walk after meals will meaningfully lower post meal, and it will start soon after you eat. And when you do that, it matters more than how far you go. So 10 minutes after dinner, 10 minutes after lunch, that's it. Pick one meal, one of those two, and include that 10-minute walk. And then step three, anchor your morning with protein. This is the one thing I wish everybody would do. I think that society has devilized breakfast, or it is such a busy life that we're running that we're just not having the time to eat breakfast. So we just skip it. And then we go for sugary stuff later and caffeine and all these things. So anchor your morning with protein. A lot of men start the day with the worst possible thing for steady energy. And I as a woman did that many years when I was in corporate. Sweet coffee, pastry, juice. Those were the things. And every time there was an early meeting, that's what people would order. That's what you would find in the cafeteria or in the boardroom or in the conference rooms. Those were the options that you had. It's practical, right? Like you can grab it and go. It's not as um, complex as having eggs or sausage or something like that. So sugar on an empty stomach, that already sets up your first spike and crash before 9 a.m. So please build breakfast around protein instead. And doing that, it's going to impact the entire day and all of the habits and everything that you do after that. And one more thing that I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to repeat it again. This is not a habit, this is a number. Please know your A1C. It's a simple blood test. If you don't have it, if you have not done it, do it. It shows how your blood sugar is in a period of 3 months. It's an average. Most men with early trouble have no idea because sometimes they have never ran the test. Sometimes it's not that elevated. We already know that wait and see approach And then when you wait, you're going to see it going up because you're not really doing all the preventive stuff. So if you want help putting all of this into action, there are some tools and some things that I included as part of the prediabetes roadmap guide. Whether you're a pre-diabetic or not, this is just giving you simple tools, strategies to balance your blood sugar. So it walks you exactly what does this mean, how the blood sugar impacts your energy, and it gives you 3 simple steps to include. And I'm going to put the link in the show notes for you to grab it. It's absolutely free. You can just click on that link and grab it. Now, one useful thing that you can do with this episode, send it to a man in your life. The brother who's always wiped out, the dad who waves off as age, who jokes about the belly, but you can tell that it bothers him a little bit. Share it with them. That's how the conversation reaches the people who are thought not to start it. And I know that I threw a lot of different elements in here. We're going to go deeper this month into other topics that are related to men's health. And again, one of the things that not many people talk about is the impact of testosterone and blood sugar. And that can be a game changer. Now, if you're a woman listening, a lot of you are, I know my audience, this part's for you. Hopefully, you didn't drop because of the title and you kept listening. You're often the one who notices these things, right? You're the one that noticed these things. The exhaustion, the mood, the way he's quietly stopped doing things that he used to love. And you probably learned that pointing it out can sound like nagging and you kind of stay quiet. So here's a way that maybe it isn't as much about his weight or willpower, but instead, instead of saying you need to lose the belly, maybe try something like I just learned how much our afternoon energy is tied to blood sugar. I just learned how much our afternoon energy is tied to blood sugar. Want to try the veggies first thing? Or let's take a walk together after dinner. That is the suggestion. You're including the person in, and it's not going to feel criticized or more supported. Make it a we, not a you. Make it about energy, not appearance. That's building the kind of space where a man doesn't have to hit breaking point before anyone's allowed to care out loud. Okay? So, all month, I'm going to go deeper on this, including a masterclass on exactly this how blood sugar, energy, and the beer belly without the beer impact men and what to do. So, stay tuned. It's going to be towards the end of June. And follow the show. Send it to one man who needs to hear it. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.